Wear a mask, everyone, wear a mask. But I'm inside, so I'm going to take this off. Welcome to a special episode of Gotta Get Up. I'm your host, Erica Lindsay Ayala. Gotta Get Up is a podcast for New York Liberty fans. Woo! Any of you have these masks? I hope you're wearing them when you're outside. Whew! Okay. I recorded this special episode. First of all, it's special because we are going to be talking a lot about WNBA developments that have happened in the past several days. I'm also joined by Bria Felicien and Kelsey Trainor to talk about some of those developments. We recorded yesterday, which would have been Monday, July 6th. But here I am Tuesday, July 7th, the day that this will go live on YouTube over at Sports Talk with ELA. Check out this little gallery right here to catch up on episodes that you've missed. I'm coming on here to record a new intro because we have a lot of things that have happened. All right, so with Bria and Kelsey, you'll hear me talk about players that tested positive. Of 137 people tested, 7 tested positive. The only name as of yesterday that we had was Sydney Colson, who announced on her own that she had tested positive for coronavirus. Today, we heard that none other than guard Asia Durr from the New York Liberty has also tested positive. Asia's statement reads as follows. After much thought and consultation with my doctors and the Liberty, I have decided not to play the 2020 WNBA season. After testing positive for COVID-19 on June 8th, my battle with it has been complicated and arduous. As I continue to fight to fully recover, I had to make the difficult decision on a deadline to opt out as a medical high-risk player. So much about this virus is unknown and my heart is heavy, even as I make the decision that I know is best for my long-term wellness. I want to thank my teammates, the Liberty organization, our fans, and my partners for their compassion. I plan to stay connected to my team virtually and support them on the court and in their efforts around social justice and activism from the bubble, however I can. I hope you will do the same. Signed, Asia Durr. Tough news for the New York Liberty. Tough news, obviously, for Asia Durr. But that's only 2 players that we know of out of 7 that the league announced yesterday have tested positive for coronavirus. We'll see the Indiana Fever. It's also worth noting 2 of the 7 players that have tested positive came from the Indiana Fever, and the Fever thus did not travel to Florida yesterday and will go back into quarantine and isolation in Indiana and then reassess afterward. Bottom line is there are a lot of things we don't know about coronavirus. So I opened with a mask. Please, please, please wear a mask, if not for yourself, for everyone else. Needless to say, to be continued, but Kelsey, Bria, and I get into the concerns that we have about the WNBA resuming play, or I guess starting the 2020 season. But we also review what we know so far about the New York Liberty. This is definitely an episode of Gotta Get Up that is mixed emotions, to say the least, and likely we will continue to have mixed emotions and conversations as we move forward, but you'll also hear about what the WNBA has planned when it comes to the Social Justice Council. I broke some news yesterday about the Social Justice Council, and you'll hear what I learned about the council in this episode. Hey, folks. All right, this is going to be a special episode of Gotta Get Up. Not a lot to report on the Liberty front. We know that Rebecca Allen is not reporting. This is a young squad, so they're relying on a free agent, Laja Clarendon, and then Amanda Zawi B to kind of be their anchors on this team. First, while I have you, and Kelsey, you got to show them the shirt.
Let me see. Get it in there.
Hey, gotta get up.
Hey, I got that basketball. I got so much hair.
That's it. So, similar to the special that we did on women's soccer, changing it up a little bit this week just because there's so much happening in the WNBA. But first, I want to get your thoughts. We'll start with you, Kelsey, on the New York Liberty.
Who young? Who child? They are just so young. Listen, I was a coach and a player, and so I don't ever count somebody out, right?
True.
But at the same time, when you're going up against everything else that's in this league, everyone else, reality sets in. So do I think that we will be surprised by the New York Liberty? Yes. Do I think there will be moments where we see the future? Yes. But that's about it. That's about it that I kind of have. I mean, you obviously have a certain level of leadership there, and excitement with these young players. But you got to look at every other team in this league, and it's just, it's the difference, the same thing where from playing high school to college to pro, you're the best of the best. You're going up against the best of the best. And so for these young players, it's a different world, and all of the vets are going to be out to get them.
Oh, we already know. If you watched A Touch More, you already know it's about.
You already knew.
Yo,
right, Sue and Sabrina, man, like the Sabrina, I love it. Sue doesn't give really anybody a break, but she is like she's gonna make her prove it. And I mean, obviously Sabrina and Oregon won, right, against USA, but that's also a competitor is not gonna let that happen probably.
Yeah, I don't think Sue liked that too much. I mean, no. But like, she really don't like it.
No, she really don't like it.
She ain't here for it. She ain't here for the hype, the nothing. But Bria, I want to go to you because honestly, I think Atlanta, which is a team that I know you know well, is a very interesting team. They've got a lot of different dynamics. When I saw Glory Johnson was going to Atlanta, listen, let me tell you what, I was like, how I jump on this bandwagon right here, because Glojo is the truth. She don't get enough credit, and I'm here for it. I thought, like, in another world, if she could have come to New York, man, if TC was still here, you ain't telling me nothing about that squad. Anybody could run point. It wouldn't even matter because you throwing bows down in the block. Like, you feel me?
See, so halfway through free agency, I was like, oh no, it's going to be awful. Everyone's signing these stars. And then we got Courtney Williams, Kenna Strickland, Glory. I'm a big Glory fan as well. I just those three. Then Kennedy on draft night, I'm like, thank you. This is turned around. I'm happy now. Thank you, guys. So I think the most exciting thing, is the personalities. I mean, we'll see how like Nikki Collins makes that like smooth and like function. But I think she's also told me how she's like very much willing to let players be themselves and like just show like, just play the way they play and be who they are, which I think is great because that's not, even though it's professional league, that's not always the case wherever everyone goes. But on the court, even with Tiffany opting out, who needs rest, to be honest, and then Renee opting out, like I'm just like, gonna be good. And Monique Billings, I was talking to somebody else about this. She's improved so much over the last year. And I mean, the team was horrible last year, but I think that was a bright spot. Like just to see her like improve defensively, and her rebounding's always been insane. And like just her mind is just like, yes. So there's just levels to my excitement.
And they have a young team in some ways comparative to kind of what, Kelsey, you were talking about or alluding to, like a Seattle or a Phoenix or even a Washington. I mentioned Tina Charles. Now she's in Washington. Is she going to report? We'll see. I don't think so, but we'll see. That's it. Shrug emoji for everything, Tina Charles. Just Tina gone Tina. I respect that, though. I respect that.
Respect.
But I think there is, if we were to flash back to 2 seasons ago where Atlanta had this run and gun style, just like gonna pound it down your throat, just so much speed, athleticism, and they had a decent amount of swagger. but they amplified, like they amped up the swag 1000%. There's more experience with Glory and Courtney and their playoff experience, which I think was lacking in Atlanta. But I do think that even in that first season with Nikki, we heard that perhaps the personalities, it didn't necessarily play out in wins, losses the way it did the next season, but that might have been something that she and her staff really had to manage, and that was difficult. Now compare that to, just quickly to go back to the New York Liberty, and then we'll do W News. The Liberty, I think, are on the opposite end of that spectrum. Super young team. The veterans that they do have, I mean, Kia Nurse is technically like she's a second tier vet for that team. Lasia Clarendon is I think the oldest player on the team, never played not 1 second with the Liberty. And then they have a young team as well. I do think these personalities align much better. I think there's two different approaches, like let everyone be who they're going to be, or kind of aces in places, and everyone knows their role, they stay in their lane, and if everyone is full throttle on their job, then the team will be successful. I think that's what Walt Hopkins is banking on for this very young New York Liberty team. Bria, just your thoughts on the Liberty before we move on.
I was like, I don't know what to expect. They had 6 rookies and then 7 after the opt-out, and I'm just like, go and have fun. I will say though, it was nice to see a lot of younger players get an opportunity in this league that it's hard to get a foot in, and not necessarily get an opportunity just because other players are opting out. So it's good. I mean, it sucks to lose Tina Charles, but I think it was kind of like Angel, like, people need a change. Mm-hmm. But just like, be free, beautiful bird. But I'm very interested to see like the rebuild and how much time he's able to get in a rebuild, because it varies depending on who you are. So
ain't that a word? Hey, woo, child. Anyway, we're not gonna do that. Not today. We got other things, but Auntie was able to talk to a few folks. Spoke to Terry Jackson from the NW. See, all these acronyms got me crazy. I'm like, what am I talking about? I don't even know. WNBPA, the Players Association Executive Director. And we had a conversation earlier, check it out, about women's soccer, social justice in women's soccer. We've always known the WNBA particularly has really been about it. But it sounds as though there's going to be a special social justice council in the bubble. It also sounds as though a lot of the conversation that Breonna Stewart actually brought up regarding the court, and that Angel McCoughtry brought up regarding jerseys, some of those plans are going to come into play in the bubble. Kelsey, when you hear about that, and just knowing the history of what WNBA players have been able to do in social justice movements and movements for Black lives, what are your reactions to the league and the PA being able to get something going for Florida?
I mean, I just didn't really ever have any doubt that the WNBA would be doing the work. And I think when you compare that to the NWSL, you see the difference between when you have a majority of Black women calling the shots, right? The NWSL doesn't have that. And so I just obviously never had any doubt that they would be they're putting in the work. I mean, I think that conversations will continue. This social justice council, that to me sounds like something that when you're in there, that, sport will not necessarily be this distraction, but it will be a vehicle to educate and to kind of change and to change people's minds. I didn't really have any doubt that these women would be doing amazing things if you just look at what they've been doing already,
Yeah, absolutely. Bria, I want to bring you into that conversation, anything that you want to reflect on as well, but also add this little frame as well, which is that, sometimes we see that the women's basketball, the WNBA community gets a little bit upset when they feel like we not putting respect on the WNBA. And do you see this council as being something that the fan base and those who follow the league will be able to embrace?
I think so, but I think is the communication has to be there, because that's like how Kelsey was saying. I know we know that the players are going to be doing this. Whether the league either does or communicates about it is up in the air. So, but I do think now is the time. Like, fans have been, at least WBA fans, have been like very active about like things that they believe in as well. So I think they will, if they have the opportunity to. And so I've only been covering like professional women's basketball for like a year, and I'm learning a lot about how things don't work. So, but yeah, I think if it's communicated well, I think people will be very, very interested in it. And I do think that players like Angel should be like, people should be trying to interview her. I know she had like a Q&A, but like, I mean, she spent so much time in Louisville. It's like a second home. Like, I know this Breonna Taylor stuff hits differently. Like, I know there was a lot of talk about whether this is like the league's fault or what, in terms of like not getting her, not necessarily credit, but just recognizing that she was been talking about this for so long. But somebody, I mean, I wish I kind of had a full-time job doing this, because I would, but I think, yes. So like, I think like there's so many different levels to the disrespect, because I honestly felt like that was disrespectful. Like, Angel's been talking about this for like 2 weeks, and to act like, I know they do this all the time, but like, to act like she doesn't exist, that made me so mad. Like, I felt it was more disrespectful than other stuff, because we know that all this stuff is personal. So didn't like it.
Yeah. So to summarize what both Kelsey and Bria said, and to bring in another amazing Black woman, Renee Hess of Black Girl Hockey Club, we're essentially going to call that last segment #Hire Black Women. That's what we're going to do. #Hire Black Women. Make sure you also go follow Black Girl Hockey Club, Renee Hess. She does amazing things. But also, I'm gonna kick this to you, Bria. We're going to see where it goes. Another piece of this conversation that I think has been interesting, right before players, as of today, they're reporting to the bubble or the wubble. I see that's happening, for the W bubble. We gotta do things different.
Oh,
gotta be different. But so we gonna go with the wubble. The conversation leading up to the wubble is there've been some players, Alicia Clark, Skylar Diggins-Smith, who have been calling into question how there is space to have such comprehensive support, conversations, and programming around the movement for Black Lives, Breonna Taylor, say her name, whilst also having an owner like Kelly, how I say her name?
Loeffler.
Okay, so she has a partial stake in the Atlanta Dream. She was tapped by the current president to fill
the governor,
the governor, excuse me, yes, but supported by the president, as I understand. It
was drama, because so she got tapped by the governor, but the president wanted somebody different, and they're both. That's why she's
okay. That's messy.
That's why she's so being so drastic in terms of her messaging, because she's trying to win, because her primary there's no primary, it's just one big election against like all, like the Republicans and the Democrats. So that's why her messaging that's why she's acting like this, essentially.
She's just okay American politics, people. Okay, yeah, she kind of messy in a few categories. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, that Kelly sister, she got some things that politically people in the women's basketball community don't feel aligns with the messaging that is so organic to the WNBA. Like I said, she got some messy things, and I didn't even realize all of the extent to which it was a hot mess. But I do think that this is another conversation that is on a political level and on a WNBA level is similar but not the same. And I do think there's some mixed messaging going on, but I want to first go to you, Bria, and then to you, Kelsey. What do you make of players starting to question, shall we say, to put it nicely, Kelly's space in the WNBA?
I think the one thing that I did notice that is the dream, like I tried to talk to Dream players maybe like December, around the time of her appointment, and I still haven't been able to talk to anybody about this. And then Renee kind of sidestepped the question, because I mean it's not on her to answer anyway, but she kind of sidestepped the question because it's not on them to talk about, but that's why it's good for other players to speak up, because it's essentially like talking about your boss. Like I don't know how. I mean, she's attended all the games last year, but I don't know. Like, you never know if somebody's like going to get rid of you for questioning them publicly. So that's one thing I do. I think is good, is that other players are speaking up, especially high profile players, when the Dream players shouldn't have to, because they have to worry about their livelihood, and they have to worry about their livelihood in the bubble. So like, that's something that I thought that was nice.
Yeah. So again, Kelsey, we have players speaking up. We have someone who ideologically does not seem to align with a team that is named after the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King. But then there is this aspect that you can't ignore, which is that she is a stakeholder because she's giving money to the Atlanta Dream. What do you make of kind of where we fall with things as we go into the wubble?
I think that it's a few layers. One, I think it's also on the WNBA as the league itself to kind of be a part of this conversation. You know, we were talking about women's soccer and wanting everything to look kind of a pretty bow, and I think that the WNBA, by not answering questions about this, by not discussing that you have a part owner who is racist. I mean, you know, says racist things. However you want to, for non-defamation purposes, however you want to say it, that goes against the messaging that the league itself is trying to put out there, and that the players clearly stand for. And so also kind of going back to that conversation of I want it all. I want her to be called out. I want her to possibly be gone. Mm-hmm. You know, I also want it to apply to all of the owners in men's sports who are so racist and rich. Robert Kraft, okay? The Patriots, right? Like, it goes on and on and on and on and on. So when I've said before, so I'm not going to be hypocritical here. I want it all, right? Like, I don't want her to given a pass because, there's so many racist owners in men's sports who do so many things to the exact same way. I want her out and I want them out. It just doesn't make sense to me. Well, I mean, the sense that it makes is that a lot of people make a lot of money. So, that's kind of where it comes from. But that's kind of been my hardest thing to grasp with it, is that I am all for all these players and everyone calling out her out. But let's not be sitting in box seats at any Patriots game either. Let's not right.
Don't even listen. First of all, the whole NFL I have a deep problem with folks saying I'm with Cap and all this stuff, and then be like throwing Super Bowl parties up in here, like including somebody's Jay-Z. I was doing a Zumba class. Y'all know Auntie. I got my music that I listen to, just like a good old auntie. I was in somebody's Zumba class, and this Jay-Z song came on. I don't know the name of it or nothing like that, but he was out here talking about, I was like, oh, this song has got to be at least 3-4 years old. But he was out here talking about the Super Bowl and basically how what song I'm talking about. And I'm like, bro, what happened? Like, what happened? What happened?
Right.
So that's kind of where I fall. And honestly, I really struggle with this I just think that similarly to our other conversation about women's soccer, I don't have the capacity, the interest, and if I'm being straight up honest, the energy to fight with people on something that I just think is pretty cut and dry. And in this case, I think it is 100% about the money, and it's not going to become an issue until the money, there's someone else that can come in and bring in more money, or at least match that money. And or we get to, you know, like a Sterling situation where she's just out here doing crazy stuff. And that makes me so sad, right? But again, it goes back to, I just don't have the energy to fight with people who I know support, again, other owners. And I put that on me. Maybe that's just me putting up a wall, conserving my energy, whatever. And I own that. But I just really have a difficult time kind of going back and forth on this. Do I like her politics? No. But there are people who are Democrats who I completely disagree with their politics. And one of them happens to be the Democratic candidate. So, you know, there's that. But again, that's me. I don't even really buy into this two-party system, but that's me.
I'm also going to add that, is that
I can separate.
Republican, Democrat, all rich people are up there rubbing shoulders together. Let's be real. It's 100% factual. I've seen it with my own eyes, right? So right, left, they're all rubbing elbows.
And so I'm not here for attacking her just because she is a member of the GOP that you don't agree with, and you now are starting to question her money and her politics. There are people, again, who hold office. I would point to, again, the Democratic candidate, not really down with how he treated Anita Hill and a bunch of other things. But, you know, we're not getting into Auntie's history lesson today, but maybe some other day. And so I just, I don't know. That just is a conversation about politics that I don't think people really want to have, but are starting to introduce because they really want to have a conversation about, again, the optics. And it's like, if it's an optics thing, say it's an optics thing. If it's a politics thing, say it's a politics thing. But when you start mixing and melding the two, I don't know. Again, I get a little bit just warned by that. But what I will say is, I am very happy that players are beginning to speak their truth. And I think, Bria, your point was spot on, that this is something that would be difficult for Atlanta players to take up on their own with no backing of the league, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, or of other players. And if other players are asking those questions, again, as the league is getting sponsors, as they're getting advisors to uplift this social justice council, at some point in time, those interests are going to, or they already, they don't blend. But is there space for both quote unquote sides? And that's a question, because again, all of these thoughts, all of these politics, all of these ways of seeing the world exist in the world. And it's just a matter of, are we going to find ways to, and again, for the sake of a league that it seems to me is really trying to pull away from being reliant on the NBA, and I think for good reason. Are we going to hold space for all of these beliefs, or are we going to find ways to do it in a way that is, you know, true to, again, what seems to be the growing culture of the WNBA? And I don't know. I think that it could go either way, and there's probably a lot of ways that I'm not thinking in between. But I think there is a culture clash, and there is a question of money. And it seems like right now we want to have the culture conversation, but at the end of the day, it's all about the dollars and cents. So I don't know. It could be a long one. I don't think she's gone before 2020, I tell you that.
No, she's there for a bit.
So we just gonna have to ride that one out. I mean, you know, not everyone's gonna agree with your politics. People gonna say crazy things, and they're gonna show their behind, especially these days. But it's a matter of, can you replace that money?
Right.
So it sucks. I don't like that I feel that way, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's kind of where I'm at. We'll see what happens. But all right, last thoughts on WNBA. We're going into the bubble. I think it's worth noting that today we got some news that of the 137 players tested, 7 did get positive tests. We know Sydney Colson is likely one of those 7 because she is not reporting. She made that public. 2 players from the Indiana Fever. We don't know of the other players that tested positive, but Indiana has stayed back and will quarantine and self-isolate in Indiana before reporting to Florida. Everyone else, as far as we know, is en route. Did not charter, from what it looks like. We got folks driving. We got folks doing all kinds of stuff. But final thoughts, what are you focusing on as we go into the wubble? Kelsey, we'll start with you.
I mean, my first focus is safety. And first focus is safety. Second is, the conditions down there and how they're treated. I think it's very clear when you look at the NBA versus the WNBA that there's a very large discrepancy. And, a few NBA or a few people have called this out, but it's like, what has the NBA players done to call attention to that? They're all about there talking about equality and this and that, but okay. So those are going to be my kind of the first few things that I'm looking at, because listen, that these women are not going to be silent. They're not going to be silent about any of this stuff. And that's necessary. That's the absolutely necessary. In women's sports, we have this, like, if you go against the grain or the image of this, the establishment, that you are somehow against it. No, that means you're demanding that it be better. And so it's going to be interesting to see what we see from them down there.
Bria, what you got? Oh, go ahead, Kelsey. Sorry.
No, and then basketball, I guess, comes last. Right. I don't even know when they're going to start practicing. Who knows? We'll see.
Literally nobody knows.
I'm full on concerned. Like this entire time, I was concerned before the NWSL started, but they were isolating. But for this, I'm just no, because I wish, I listened to LaChina on Around the Rim, and she was like, there's nothing in their contract or the CBA that says they have to play to get paid. And I'm just pay them to stay home, pay them to be healthy for 2021, because oh my gosh. And then Georgia's been open for the whole time. They closed for a week. And I know it's so, and I can't even go outside. That's why I'm in Louisiana. I can't even walk outside because I live kind of downtown Decatur and no one's wearing a mask. And I'm just just gonna go back inside. I can't do this. So if that is Georgia, Florida, Texas, a lot, that's what two teams plus where the bubble is. I can't even think about. I'm so stressed out by this. And something funny, y'all saw what Gabby Williams was like. I'm headed to Firefest with my girl.
Yo,
Gabby,
Firefest.
So yeah, I'm just concerned. I'm I can't even I keep thinking about the dream, but to me it's kind of like an idea. How they keep talking about the proposed plan. It's I don't want the WBA to be the only team or bubble that falls apart. I don't want them to be the ones that stop, because there's gonna this narrative that people already want or think is true anyway. But I'm just everyone stop this.
Right.
Please. Yeah,
I am concerned. I don't know what it is that I think once the NWSL got started, I've been a little bit less concerned. I don't know if that's just me trying to be well, we're here now, so let's go with it. But yeah, the W, we've already seen Bridget Pettis say that she is not going to travel with the team. And, I think what was interesting in the announcement that came from the organization that she was working for, at least the first one I saw, I didn't get anything from Chicago, but was that she was asking questions about health and safety and didn't feel that at the time where perhaps she felt or was asked to make her decision by, that she had those answers. And I think really that's what we're seeing across the board in sports. It's happening in Major League Baseball. It's happening in the NHL. It's happening in the NFL. teams are having to shut down in, their phase 1, phase 2, because there are people that, again, are testing positive. And these are men's sports that haven't even, again, they're not even traveling yet to their the cities where they're going to be playing. So, y'all, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But, Auntie always got her stuff. I'm going to be saging. And I got the Palo Santo. I'm going to be just saging it all out. Another thing is, we don't even know if we can watch this yet. And, all of that stuff. So, y'all. I know. I was going to end on some, but we're just like, oh, God. We don't know, y'all. We don't know.
Give us answers.
And how are we going to be able to cover this? We were talking about soccer earlier. It's been such a nightmare to get anyone. And what is that going to look like in the WNBA? I mean, halfway got problems with some of the teams already. Like,
this is true.
Name some names. Who do you...
Sometimes I ask, like, hey sis, I'm coming through for the game. Can I get the press release and just keep me on the list? Okay, I got you. Get them for 3 days, and then all of a sudden I'm gone. Like, so you act like, I don't know. Is it just like, it just seems like you would have to like take somebody off of that? No, why you do that? Why you do that? Like, I said, keep me on. Like,
I said what I said.
What I said. Just like stuff like that. Can't get folks. And then this is definitely gonna have to be another podcast. But Bria, I know you and I have been in conversations where it also, especially for Black writers, seems to really matter where we're going to place our stories.
Mm-hmm.
We have Mr. Holman holding it down in Minnesota, been doing this since probably at least a decade longer than I've been alive. Mr. Holman, I love you, but you know how old you are. So, but working for a Black newspaper and still has difficulty covering the WNBA,
which is crazy because it's the place I work would get more like credibility, but they didn't start covering the league consistently until I kind of finagled my way into doing it. Like I did kind of scam my way into doing it, but
we love to see it. We really do. We love to see it.
But like the people that are going to cover it consistently and where the fans are actually expecting the work from, it is so frustrating because I'm of the mind, and I've said this on somewhere before, I'm of the mind that like we don't even need to be like me. I mean, I also have like another job, but we don't need to be so focused on do we need to be so focused on these mainstream places that don't care? Should we focus more? And I honestly, especially with this new awakening talking about like capitalism and like all this other stuff, like I'm also trying to take more of a community approach of these people that actually like care, who we can fund it in a different way. But yeah, that's something but I'm also curious, and this is like a big question, but like, can we get to the point where we are the, not establishment, but like we are the place that, like we're the go-to? Like, can we get to that point?
Let's go, Kelsey. Make it happen, sis. We waiting on you.
All right, let's go. I'm ready to go. Get started.
No,
let's go. But, I'm ready.
That also though is something that players have seemed to, and I honestly didn't expect it, but it's so appreciated that players now are starting to say, hey, I mean, who's covering you? Who are you giving these exclusives to? You don't have to say yes to everything. And that's what I think is important. I'm not asking for all that. We know certain things have to be embargoed and certain things you do want placed at certain places. And that's fine. Give them first bite, but make that accessible to everyone. Again, I've been covering the league. This will be 4 or 5 seasons, and I can't get consistent email. Just like put me on the email to get the press release that, it's Build-A-Bear Day or whatever. Like, I just give me the information, So, I don't know. We'll see. Lots to happen. Hopefully, we will be part of that media corps that can bring you amazing stories from the bubble. But it does sound like the players are definitely going to have a voice of their own, which, again, anxiety is real. But what I choose to take away that is a good thing is that these women have always had a united front, That doesn't mean they always agree with each other. And that's the beauty of it. They are showing all of us what it means to be self-actualized and to be strong and confident, while also realizing that what you do or don't do impacts other people. And they're teaching us true interdependence, and that what's good for, the quote unquote least of us is good for everyone. You lift everybody up. And I love that the WNBA is doing that. So I'm looking forward to however they choose to share those stories. But y'all could hit me up. I'm just saying, Sports Talk with ELA, aka Auntie. Okay.
I'm gonna start being Sports Talk ELA's booking agent. I'm gonna be like, excuse me, please hold.
Let's go, sis.
I'm gonna make those phone calls. I'm gonna finagle something. Come on, excuse me now. You just been lawyered, and thank your client for appearing on the show next week.
I love it. But we gotta shout you out too, man. Calling Game. First of all, I love the name of that. That's just dope. We calling game on all the bullshit we just talked about. We calling game on all of that. We also know that you've contributed to places like High Post Hoops, been an expert in Forbes articles. She fancy over here.
I signed on with Forbes. I just haven't written anything yet.
Come on, sis, let's go.
I gotta do my day job. You gotta be a lawyer.
I feel that. A
whole lawyer. She gotta be a whole lawyer first.
I gotta be a whole lawyer.
Pay them bills. But we want to see that Forbes byline for some wubble stories. Mm-hmm. Bria holding it down in all kinds of places, but especially, holding it down over at the Next, making sure all the stories that are coming out there are looking good. Weekend, nighttime editor, making it happen. So make sure that you are following Kelsey Trainor, Bria Felicien. Thank you, ladies, so much for not one, but two amazing conversations. We're going to see what happens, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it.
Thank you, Auntie. Love you, Auntie.
Thank you. You're the best.